Hello and welcome to the webinar number 44 of the Zebra BI webinar series, where we discuss the topics of dashboarding, BI, reporting, and AI. My name is Andre, and this time I will dive into what I think is an immensely important business topic, which is mastering your brand and product portfolio analysis. And this is just something extremely important for many industries, like fast-moving consumer goods industry and pharma and automotive and many of those industries. And it's a core skill and core analytics that can make sure that your company will win on those analytics. So we will discuss how you can perform detailed brand and product portfolio analysis in Power BI, and we will make the case of how extremely important it actually is for you to grasp the analysis, to make sure that you use this data for benchmarking, for category management, for brand management, for gaining the insights for practically every marketing and sales decision and campaign and all that. All right, let me show you a quick example. Just start my Power BI file, and just to give you a glimpse of what are we going to present today. In Power BI, of course, we'll also show you a lot of tips and tricks on how to perform brand analysis, performance analysis of your brands and products and your categories, business categories in Power BI. So, like, imagine that you have reports like this coming up. All right. So, imagine that you have a report that clearly shows the development of your markets, of your categories, that where you compete with your products and brands. Like in our fictional example here, product categories of hair care, family care, skin care, oral care, and it's, of course, you have insight into the development of the revenue of the whole category. So what's going on with the category? Is it growing or not? In terms of value in US dollars and so on. And of course, also units sold and the average prices and so on, the top brands within a category, and of course, your brands versus your competitors. Okay, so this is also about benchmarking, competing on the market. And then, of course, that you have a deep insight into every category where you perform your business, right? So we have the hair care here, and you may have some of your brands in a competitive situation with your competitors, other companies, other manufacturers with their brands. And of course, you want to make sure that you don't miss any of the developments in your revenue, in market shares, in the distribution of your products on the market, the pricing strategies of your competitors, and all that. Okay, so this is the topic of today's webinar, and we will discuss this. Firstly, show a couple of examples, and then also practical tips and tricks how to set this up in Power BI. So I'm Andre, the CEO and founder at Zebra BI. I'm a Microsoft most valuable professional alumni member, and also an IBCS certified consultant. But today I also have Mark and Thielen with me, who have helped me prepare this webinar. This is our all-star team. So yeah, Mark and Tina, please say hi to our audience.
Hi everyone.
Yeah. Hey, hello. As usual, we'll be monitoring the chat. We'll answer the questions. And so, yes, of course, we have some really, really wonderful things to show you from the content side, but also from the tips and tricks if you're interested in like how to build those reports. So yeah, we'll be on top of this in the chat and later on during the session. So yeah, back to you, Andre.
Thanks so much, Mark. So keep your questions coming in the chat. We will answer all of your questions. And yeah, Thielen is our lead consultant here, and Mark is our Power BI ninja, who will also join me a bit later on in the webinar to explain some of the DAX and data modeling tips and tricks needed to make sure that you deliver really exceptional Power BI dashboards with your brand performance analysis. The agenda for today, quick intro. Why is brand and product portfolio analysis actually so important, and how you do it in different industries? Where do you get your data from? What do you do with that data? How do you put it all together in Power BI? How do you visualize it? And so on. And we will do this by tackling 3 practical examples from fast-moving consumer goods industry, food and beverage, and automotive. We'll share all the resources and download links, including the files and templates that we'll show today. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So please, if at any point you have any kind of questions, just type them away and we'll discuss it at the end of the webinar. And we are, of course, recording also our today's session. So we will send you the recording afterwards. And yeah, so let me now dive into the topic first. What does, brand and product management and category management actually mean, and what does it bring to your company? Okay. So, of course, understanding the performance of your brands and products versus your competitors in your markets, understanding the exact market positioning, pricing, and strategic fit, and so on. All this is essential for you to plan any kind of decisions in marketing and sales that will drive your performance versus your competitors. And if you have a good grasp over some of the key KPIs like market shares, volumes, sales volumes, both in terms of volume and value, the growth of in different segments, brands, markets, products, and so on. Understand the brand penetration, the distribution of your products on the market in different phases, either in go-to-market phase or later on, but also later on understanding the satisfaction and other important metrics like brand loyalty, and in retail, then maybe also shelf space utilization. And of course, there are industry-specific KPIs that fall under this umbrella. If you somehow get a really good grasp over that, you will identify high-performing and underperforming brands and products. You will be on top of your competitive positioning, be able to craft strategies to gain competitive advantage, strengthen your marketing positioning. You'll be able to effectively allocate your resources, prioritize the resource distribution. So, marketing budgets, R&D investments, marketing campaigns, and so on. You'll be able to, just allocate them to the areas where they are needed most, and of course, where they will have the most impact. This will also help you identify market opportunities, potential growth areas, and so on, so that then you, of course, can develop better strategies and tactics. Lastly, also the risk assessment, identify the risks, and develop strategies to mitigate those risks. Okay, so what are actually the relevant industries and personas that have the interest and are benefiting from brand portfolio analysis? It's basically in almost every industry, right? Especially FMCG, food and beverage, automotive, retail, healthcare, technology, but also fashion, telcos, financial services, travel, tourism. So almost in every industry, right, you have data available, mostly for buying. Okay, so mostly you have to buy this data, of course, to understand your brand performance. And then, of course, this data and the insights based on this data is crucial, for certain job titles in your company, right? So these are brand managers, product managers, of course, marketing directors, and category managers for sure. Business unit managers, sales managers, but also business analysts, especially sales and marketing analysts, market research analysts, but also, of course, your top level management, starting from your CEO and CFO and other CSO and other members of company leadership. Of course, they are very interested in this data. And then, of course, also some specialized roles like customer insights manager and so on. So, this topic today, I think, is important for a vast number of people, especially managers and analysts in companies of all of those industries. Okay, so first of all, the data. Okay, so there are actually many data providers that can provide you with benchmarking data that cover KPIs like market shares and sales, like revenue and other KPIs for your company and for all of your competitors. So basically on one market. So maybe Nielsen is most the data provider Nielsen is most well known especially in FMCG, retail, media industries. But then you have a ton of others like IRI, Euromonitor, Mintel, Statista, Gartner, Forrester, and so on. And then, of course, there are also specialized providers for a specific industry. Like in pharma, you have Pharmis, and there are a couple of data providers for the automotive industry, and so on. Right. So this was a short list. Now, what they do is they provide some standard KPIs like sales data, market share data, price per unit, weighted distribution. So, for example, this would be the area of Nielsen data that we will mostly present today. but also consumer demographics, competitive analysis, price, promotional data, shelf space data, like in retail positioning, the planograms and all that in retail, and on and on and on. So there's a lot of data available on the market. Of course, mostly you have to buy this data. So it's typically you won't find good and reliable data for free just on the internet. You will find some analysis, like ad hoc analysis here and there, but this is not what we will be talking about today. We'll talk about serious analysis on, periodically updatable, refreshable data that give you quite detailed and professional insight into product categories and so on. So our task will be just to, grasp this data, load it into Power BI, and provide really good dashboards, so that you will use those insights for better business. So here's a couple of here's basically here's a breakdown by industry. So in FMCG, for example, Nielsen is the, I would say, #1 data provider, but there are a couple of others. You have some other providers for food and beverage. So I mentioned automotive, where you have the JD Power, IHS, Auto Trader, and others. Then, for example, in pharmaceuticals, healthcare, you have the IMS Health, which is probably the most widespread, but there are others as well. So there are lots of data providers, basically, for, you have a couple for each industry, basically. So you may want to explore those. And my friends, remember this really well. I shall say it only once, right? This data is so mission critical, and also it is very expensive, okay? So that it really does matter how do you use it, okay? As a consultant already 15 or maybe even 20 years ago, I was working with this data, and we did it in Excel and so on. And in many companies, they were spending a lot of money to actually buy this data from those providers, but they did not really use it to, the maximum potential. It was always some kind of Excel files, and then it was, people prepared slides, and it was shown. It was almost like some sort of an add-on to like real analytics, which was always internal sales and financials and so on. However, I think we should turn this story around, right? Because financials, the end results like EBITDA and profit and revenue and so on, is actually a consequence of, making really good business decisions. And those business decisions need to be taken on a different level, on a level of brand, product, market, and so on. And this is actually what we are showing today. And you should start loading that data into Power BI. Create a really good data model, or a great data model, and build your best dashboards possible to make sure that you are using those data, because because it will give you a huge competitive advantage. Okay, so let's take a look. What am I talking about? Our example #1 comes from fast-moving consumer goods industry. It is a fictional data set with more or less with similar KPIs and a similar structure that you would get from Nielsen. Okay, so Nielsen provides data, basically panels Okay, so these are panels that you can buy, and they will provide you with data on the volume and value of product categories. Okay, so in my case here, I have an example of a couple of categories like hair care products, family care products, skin care, oral care products. Okay, and of course, in those product categories, you have certain brands. Some of them may be brands from your company, right? And some of them, and the others, all the others are brands from your competitors. Okay, so typically you would have the product, and then you would have also product. So the product category, then you would have the product subcategory. Like in, I don't know, inside the family care category, you would have baby care and so on, right? And then in skincare, you will have facial care and so on. Yeah. So you would get the revenue, so the sales. You would get the volumes, so the units sold, or in some cases, like in food and beverage, of course, this is then in liters or in tons. And then you would have your average prices. Okay, so like price per unit, price per piece, or typically even normalized like price per ton or price per liter, right? Or price per kilogram, something like that. And of course, then you can calculate the market share, either value market share in euros, or the volume market share from the units sold. So this is the basics. Okay, this is the basics, and this is what we have prepared in this example. Of course, there are also other KPIs like distribution on the market. In how many like retail outlets you are present, and in what kind of formats of those retail outlets, and things like that. So there are many more KPIs available, but we'll start with the basics here. So what I've prepared here is the first page of my report, which is just the overview of the market. Okay, so what is going on with the hair care category in total, right? And typically this would be for one region, like in US or in Germany, right? Either a country or a region, or sometimes even if you have a local provider, this could be a region inside your country, and so on, right? So you typically have markets in a certain geography. Okay, so of course it's important for you now to understand first the categories. What's going on with the category? Is the category itself growing or not? Is it an expanding category, or do we have products and brands in some category that is, how big is it, and what is the growth, basically? So that's the first thing, right? And the second important thing is the time periods. Okay, the time periods are typically quite tricky, right? And what you want to have is repeatable, time periods. And now it depends, of course, on your data provider, and also it depends on the costs, right? Are you buying monthly panels, or sometimes is bi-monthly, right? So you basically buy it every 2 months, or sometimes it can be even weekly, and so on. It depends on the provider, and of course on the spend for this data. But what you definitely want is to have a repeatable and equidistant period. So each month, or each 2 months, or each quarter, right? But it has to be on the same period, so that you can then compare these periods to previous year, for example, so that you can do a proper year-over-year analysis. And so that's number one. And number two is, what you want to do is take that data, which is typically, provided as some sort of Excel export or CSV files and so on. In some cases, maybe even with direct integration with the data provider. But mostly it's still, those are still like Excel exports that you then have to load into Power BI. And you want to make sure that you load this regularly into Power BI and just incrementally add new periods to your Power BI model. This is very important because this is how you will build a time series, inside Power BI. So this is the first important thing, load everything into Power BI and make sure that, all your time series will be stored in Power BI. And you then just incrementally, when you get the new panel for the new month, you just load it and you add it to your unified data model in Power BI. Okay, so now we have the revenue, units sold, average prices. Okay, to understand what's going on, is it a very competitive market? So the prices started to decline, or your competitors started to lower their prices, and then this, of course, will reflect on the whole category because the average price will go down. So it's important to understand this. So the average price per unit, and then, of course, the market shares. Okay, so on the first page, I would definitely recommend including something like top 5 brands or either top 5 companies, so manufacturers. So this would be now, I don't know, if this was the soft drinks category, right, you would see Coca-Cola and Pepsi here, right? Or so if this is fast-moving consuming goods, so in hair care, probably, I don't know, P&G and Unilever and so on, and then in similar product categories, you would get GSK, Colgate, Palmolive, and so on, right? So the manufacturers, and then of course all of their brands would be one level below that. So on the first page, I would probably do something like top 5 companies to understand, okay, who are the leaders in this product category and what's going on with their share, right? So, and because this is essentially now benchmarking. This is where you are comparing yourself to your competitors. The basic thing here is to just highlight your own company and highlight your own products or brands so that you can easily understand, okay, for example, if this is your company, okay, you have the second market share in hair care, right? And this is now the market leader. But of course, the important thing is also, what is the trend of those market shares? So, and as you can see here in this example, okay, you're the second, but you have improved from the previous period for 1.6 percentage points, right? So you have improved your market share. This can be volume market share or value market share, right? Or both, right? Typically you would actually track both. And they're important for different decisions. And whereas, for example, in this example, you understand not just, what is the market share, but what's actually the change of this market share from the previous period, or from the, if you do it on, if you do a comparison versus previous year, then it's a year-over-year change of the market share. And in this case, it was actually the leading brand actually lost 0.6 percentage points from the previous period, right? And then in Power BI, of course, it's very important now to do proper time series, charting and analysis. So this is a nice little trick, just to put the line chart and even better, an area chart into the tooltip. Okay, so this is the so-called report page tooltip in Power BI, so that when your users will hover over this, they will understand not only, okay, what's the change, but also how this change is changing, and the market share is changing from period to period. And of course, this is why it is extremely important that you also buy and handle the data in equidistant, periods in an incremental fashion, and that you have proper comparable trends in your database, in your Power BI model. All right. So this would be like one example of a page. Let's move on. So then, of course, the portfolio, right? So what is now going on within a certain category? So here we have the hair care category illustrated with this little icon here, okay? And now, of course, you have the benchmarking analysis of all the companies. So for example, if I just collapsed the entire field, okay, these are now basically the companies, the producers, manufacturers, right? And so you will typically have the revenue, or the total sales, the sales volume. And of course, you want to do an analysis versus previous year. How is it growing, declining? Who's growing, who's declining? And of course, then the same thing for the market share. Typically, this would be volume and value market share. And then, of course, also some other KPIs that we'll add later on, but this would be just probably the basics, right? And then, of course, if you expand this, you want to have the brand below the manufacturer so that you actually understand, okay, what's going on now, either with your company. So now you can simply click here, all right? So now I have selected for example, our company, right? And so these are our brands. So I can understand, okay, the total share in hair care is actually growing, right? Wow, plus 3.5 percentage points growth in market share. How did we do that? Well, with this brand, it was the plus 0.5, and with this brand it was that much growth, and with this brand it was this much growth. But actually we also have a brand that has a declining market share, right? So this is how you then understand what's going on. And then if you click here, of course, you then want to have more details about your company, like in terms of trends for your revenue, units sold, the market share, how is it developing, and what's going on with average prices per unit, and so on. Of course, then you also can just select any brand, and then you will get the same picture for the brand. Okay, so this would be like a very basic, I would say, portfolio analysis, where you simply have one table with certain columns, revenue compared to previous year, market share compared to previous year or previous period, right? And then, of course, you want your users to be able to select different product categories. So, for example, family care, different situation, different brands, maybe the same competitors, maybe some new ones here, right? And same for other product categories, right? So this would be the typical, I would say, report page as a portfolio analysis. Let's just take a look at a couple of others, and then we'll show some tips and tricks how to set this up. So there's okay, this one, for example, let me switch back to hair care, for example. Okay, so this one has more data. So on top of revenue, you may want to also understand, or also add the units sold. So you can just do it in the same table, basically. Okay, so this will be a more detailed view now. So for every brand, you understand the revenue, the units sold, but also the market shares. Okay, so that will be, next step, just adding more columns to this table. And the thing that can enhance your reports, and especially your managers, and especially senior managers will love this, if you actually now add some comments. All right, so that will be another strong recommendation what to do with your brand for portfolio reporting and analysis. Include commentary because every month, every period, your managers and sales managers, category managers, product managers, brand managers, and especially the leadership, they will want to understand, okay, why is this brand had a negative growth of its market share. Okay, so it's time for you to click here, add a comment, and explain it. Right? Explain it. Put it into the report. So let's see. This company is growing, right? Okay, and you provide a meaningful commentary for this, like cosmetics growing due to I don't know, perhaps successful ad campaign in certain region and so on, right? So if you of course explain this in a very actionable manner, your reports based on marketing market data, brand performance data will actually start making sense, and this will be a dashboard, and this all the commentary will be stored, and suddenly you will have this central analytics together with almost a kind of a knowledge base, right, in your Power BI on the same place, right? So the when you get the data for the next period, you will switch to this period, analyze your analyze what's going on, what has changed and so on, and comment on it. All right, what's going on with alpha products? Maybe this is your top competitor, share declining due to something, right? And of course, then just add this and add something for your own company, which, okay, we said this is. So you can comment on either, market shares or revenue or both and so on. Just add meaningful commentary, right? Okay. And this is basically how you start creating almost a knowledge base merged together with data insights and everything, right? And if then you discuss this, if you share this either in a meeting or you have all of those personas consuming this information, they will immediately understand it because they will have this commentary, and even if they will want to remember, okay, what happened last, what did we say, in the previous period, like previous month or 2 months ago or whatever, they will simply click here and they will see the commentary from the previous period. Okay, so this is a very important part of dashboards, also for this business domain. All right. Now let's maybe I can show a couple of tricks. So maybe first let's start with a couple of design tricks. So as you see here, when you select a category, the icon will change dynamically here. So let me just present this to you. How do you do this in Power BI? It's a simple trick, but many users have asked us about this. So it's actually it's quite simple. So first of all, here I have this icon here. So this is an icon. I just placed it into, I just placed a circle below it, but this is actually the picture of the icon. And this little element here is basically a native Power BI matrix. Okay, so it's just a simple matrix. It could be also a Power BI table. So either Power BI table or Power BI matrix, the native one, can display icons. All right, how do you bring icons? Or this also this could be also, so I definitely recommend category icons for product categories, right? That works really well. Of course, you can also use the same trick for pictures, like pictures of your brands or of your products, or logotypes of your brands and things like that, right? Or of course also your competitors if you want. So you take the native matrix, and then what you do is you need to bring the pictures in. Okay, so you will have to have a table in your Power BI model. So let me show you how the model actually looks like. Right, it's this time it's actually quite simple, and it's not the perfect one. It's not really the star schema, but this table here has a simple list of categories and also contains a column for the icon. Okay, so this table, let me show you the table, category. This is the category table, the categories. All right. So now we have the list of categories. We have the category ID, which is just, you know, the basically the sort order of my categories. And then I have this column called icon. All right, and it simply contains the link to the picture. Okay, so this is one option. You can just enter the link to the picture, or you can actually provide the picture itself in the base 64 format. So it's also possible to actually put the whole picture, either an SVG or a PNG picture, in base 64 format here. So we just use the links to icons from the internet, right? And then when you have this data field here, you need to make sure that the data category of this data field, of this column in your table, is set to image URL. Okay, that's it. So the moment when, so if it would be just like uncategorized, I will break things completely, I guess. You see, so by default, every visual will just display, the text, which is actually the link here. But at the moment when you switch your column here to the image URL, Power BI understands it's an image. The semantic model in Power BI will now have this information, and now the your matrix here will display the image. That's it. It's a very simple trick, and then of course you place it wherever you want, and voila, this is how you do this. Okay, and of course now, because I have this for all the categories, so I have images, icons for all the categories. Once you filter the category, this will automatically change here, right? Without the filter, I would get all the pictures here. Okay, only this matrix is so small, but if I would extend it, you would see all the pictures. Okay, so it's a very simple trick how to bring your images in. All right, now let's maybe try to recreate this table. So for example, I'll just duplicate here and just show a couple of things. So how do you actually build a report like this? Let me remove this. All right, so so I have used the Zebra BI tables. Let's use this one. The Zebra BI tables, and voila, now what you want to do is you have the category here in the filter, right? So I'll put the company in the table, and now we need some data. So this is my data. Let's first do the revenue versus revenue previous year. Voila. That's it. It's very, very simple. So I just added the revenue versus previous year. So the Zebra BI tables visual actually calculated the growth rates, right? So that's all you need to do to understand what's going on with the revenue for your company, and of course all the competitors. Okay, so the first thing now here is you want to distinguish between your company and all the rest of your all the rest of the companies, your competitors. So right click on your own company, and now provide some sort of unique formatting. So just highlight your company. So for example, you can do this by changing the color inside the bar, the color of the bar here. That's one option. Second option would be to actually highlight this row with some sort of background fill. So you can, let's try to do some sort of, all right, so this would be blue, but maybe you make it like very transparent, so very, very light, but still it's a quick highlight here. So, all right, this is already now more understandable, right? Because the brands are all sorted already. Actually, the companies are sorted already, so probably sort them by the revenue. Sorry, descending, right? So already makes sense. We have the second position in this product category. This is exactly the growth. Actually, we have the best growth. Wow, that's great. And yeah, this is it, right? Plus, you see, I already have the tooltip. So the tooltip, of course, you build this tooltip in a separate page. So we have a couple of tooltips here in our example. So you can explore this later on. So I guess this one is for the trends. Yeah. So this is, so it's a separate page with a line chart. And then you simply, sorry, I made a copy here, right? So then you simply select your visual and select your tooltip. So by default, in Power BI, you have simple tooltips that really have no value. Basically, they just display the same data that is already displayed in a table or chart and so on, right? So use the report page tooltips, okay? And of course, then you need to select your predefined page with the charts and everything that will render as a tooltip. So I think I had this one, right? TransMS, was it? Yeah, okay. So this is it. And now, you have a much more meaningful explanation in your tooltip, right? So the whole trend here, so you understand not only that, you have a good trend, but also what's the history of the trend and so on. So this will be the first thing. And then, of course, we'll just bring the brand below the company to build a hierarchy here. So now I can already see all the brands, for every company, including our competitors and so on. And then if you put separate charts here, like column charts, or this is now the Zebra BI charts visual, right? That you would use for the time trends. You can have area charts, line charts, waterfall charts, also quite interesting, right? To understand, okay, what's the total revenue and then how that is, it's changing from period to period, right? And then the total cumulative growth from previous year, for example, like that, or a column chart that would more emphasize the result of each period. Okay, of course the growth rate. So this is now the previous, so the second period, like maybe February, maybe second by month or something like that. All right, so this would be the basics, and now you need to bring more data in, right? So for example, with the Zebra BI tables visual, you can add the so-called additional measures in. So in this case, I would definitely add the market share. That would be probably the first thing. Sorry, where's my market share? I have the parameter. Where's my market share? Sorry. For some reason I can't find. Percent of product category. This is similar, but it's.
Let me just jump in, Andre.
Yeah, thanks.
Under the percent folder in the key measures. So yeah,
sorry, it was collapsed here. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Mark. So yeah, these are all the percent measures. We just put them in one folder. All right, so the market share. So you see, this is now how you add the market share. Okay, so now you have the market share. Okay, and now you would want to visualize this. I would actually recommend using the pin chart for the market share. Why? Because the revenue, you would typically show the revenue as columns or bars, right? So it's helpful for the end users that you use a completely different visualization for your market shares, right? So market share is a percentage. It's completely different than millions or billions of US dollars, right? So that's definitely something I would recommend. Maybe if you don't need the previous year, you can hide this column from a table and just have the actual value. So that's actually the revenue. Just rename it here. So that's actually now the revenue versus previous year, and then you have the market share. And then of course you can also bring the the delta market share. So actually the change of the market share. So that's actually the absolute variance. So you see the negative, positive, or even this one you can show as probably the plus minus chart to understand, okay, visually which market shares are growing and how much, right? So to have this comparison here, and then of course you can just keep adding things like units sold and things like that, right? So you would typically have units sold. So let's drop this in as well. This would be my units sold. So let's use the bar chart again for this one. I would move it here. So arrange everything around in your table, and voila, this is already a nice report, showing all your portfolio and everything together, right? Now to start adding comments, if in Zebra BI visuals, you now have the so-called annotation layer, so you can add annotation, any kind of annotations here. So the commentary is the basic form of that. So voila, let's now add a comment. I get this comment box completely automatically and just start writing, write a comment here, and voila, this is now already looks like a proper report. Now, of course, you will need to ensure enough space for everything, right? Or even in some cases, you might want to hide the do not show the comment box, but just have the comment available here on a tooltip. Voila, this is also, if you don't have enough space, this is also an option. And now you still see the comment by hovering over the comment marker. All right, the second thing you want to do in your performance analysis is really good comparison of trends. All right, so that's the second thing. So as you see here, I can see all the companies in a category. All right, so this is my company versus all the others. Voila. And now here you understand what is what is the market share. So these are the market shares now. and you understand who is the leader, you're the second, and then all the other ones have a much smaller market share. So because all the charts are scaled, this is a really nice view of your competitors. You understand your position, you understand the growth rates, and then if you do again a nice tooltip, which is in this case slightly different. In this case, I chose the top brands for within your brands that constitute the share of your company within this product category, right? You now understand, okay, how did you actually achieve the growth of your total market share, which is with the first, second, third, and fourth brand in your portfolio. Okay, and of course you can understand the same thing for your competitors, right? So how do you create this? Okay, so for this you will need Zebra BI charts visual. So let me just add Zebra BI charts. I'll just do this real quick. So now this time you will need the so we'll add the market share again. Okay, like this. This is just the market share.
And now the period from the portfolio in the bottom field.
Yeah, here it is. All right. Thanks, Mark. So the period, Mark, you can stay on because I think we'll show some Dextrix next, right? So this would be of course the period, and now you bring in the company, and you put it into. Make sure you put it into the group placeholder, okay, of the Zebra BI charts, because this will do the grouping, and now suddenly you see all of the competitors, and this is more or less already. It's already more or less done. Now you can again highlight your own company. Right click here on the name, and just highlight this. Okay, of course you can select the color you want, and of course also select the chart type that you want. So this is all out of the box with the Zebra BI visual. So this one would be a nice one, comparing with the starting period, just understanding the growth rates. Voila, it's very easy, but it's important. So these are now the small multiples. Okay, so this is multiple charts within one visual. This is called small multiples. So here you will find many options to design this. Okay, so by default you have this so-called smart rows layout. I would actually recommend using auto layout. Okay, auto layout, because you will have this situation with a very big market shares, and then a lot of brands or competitors with smaller market shares, and this automatic layout will just render everything in the most compact way, and it'll be the best presentation of your data. And you can also display the grid here. You could do also the top end, so you have a lot of items, a lot of brands in one market. Just make sure to display probably, I don't know, top 10 or something, and everything. So all the smaller ones will get summed up in this others category. Voila. So these are the basic things, right? Great tables, great time series charts in small multiples. This is your basics, and then you can spice it up. Now I had the company. I would maybe want to switch to brand. So for this, you can use the field parameter, okay, to change actually the content of the groups here. Okay, so instead of putting your company into group, you can actually add the field parameter here. So now it's company, but then if I switch, now I see all the brands. Okay, and of course, if there are a lot of brands, I can expand the others to show a couple more. So maybe like this. Voila, this is now Voila, this is better. You're all the top brands plus others. All right, Mark, let's finish the examples with the second one from the automotive industry. Maybe you can show some DEX tricks on the second example.
Yeah, sure. You just need to stop sharing so I can
Yep.
take over in the
Voila.
meantime.
All right.
Here we go.
You're on. So Mark will present our second example, which is more advanced. So I've shown the basics, and then more advanced things are handling the time series with rolling periods and a couple of other things. So let's dive into that.
So yes, this is now the second example, which is actually from the automotive data. And again, we have a similar like layout, we have the similar look and feel. So even if you're dealing with like different scenarios, you will have this out of the box look and feel. So you kind of get familiarized with how the data is shown. And what we did here is we've taken a step further, right? So Andre was showing different examples of KPIs, but those were based on the measures. Now, what you can do here is actually combine all those KPIs in different dimensions and make them dynamic. So you can basically switch them out, or depending on what you want to see. So if I switch here, I basically select a slicer, and I can basically switch out the entire measure of the entire page. So instead of looking through the different car manufacturers, through their models, and basically on that level, we can basically look on market share, we can take on units sold, and all the entire report will actually switch out, right? So the measures here, and as you see, even the comments again are linked directly to the data, so they're completely dynamic. Depending on what we are showing, we will see the comments that were entered for that particular time frame or that particular metric, and so on. And now we can basically have this cross analysis of all our basic metrics on top, but we can of course then break down further, right? So we see there's some hidden comments here. I can just basically click on this, and then I'll get more comments that basically explain why behind under or over performance.
Mark, now, this is a great example, I think. Can you just reveal now two things, right? So first of all, when you change the KPI, the units also changed automatically, right? So so basically, the visual is reading the data formats from the model, because of course you want to have your percentages formatted in a different way than your millions of dollars. So that's quite important when you are building interactive reports. So let's see this, and then also how do you ensure, how do you control the comments, how they are filtered?
Yes, these are two excellent points. Now, the first one is, if you already have your key measures spread out, as we have in base measures here, right? You can basically set those formats on the measure itself, okay? And then there are two ways how we can basically do the dynamic KPIs. So either we use a filter parameter, and this will actually read the format directly from here. But there's maybe a more elegant way for then further referencing, and there are different performance, where you can do it another way, which is basically you create into the model view here for all your KPI, the values. So here KPI, I will get a different measure. Now here's also a nice trick that we can actually mimic what Zebra BI does automatically for you, which is automatically shorten and make the labels short depending on what you're actually showing, right? So you can do this on the measure level, and Zebra BI then allows you to bring in the formats from those measures. So all you need to do is actually go into the data labels here and select the units from Power BI. And now you can specify the format, dynamic format for each of the KPIs, however you like. And in this case, we just basically recreated what Zebra BI does for you automatically. So it just goes through all the numbers and it returns the abbreviation of the labels. And even if you have formats set to percentages, it will return it as a percent measure. So you can do this for any measure. It's just a neat little trick that you can copy and paste and reuse it across all your models. Now, the second thing that Andre mentioned is how to ensure that your cross-filtering and the comments are dynamic. So basically, all you need to do is you take one of the fields here and you drag and drop it into the filters placeholder, right? You can create really specific measures. So even with multiple selections, you can do this. And once the visual has these fields, it will now remember the position of each of those values. So for in this case, we have the KPIs, we have the regions. So even if I switch to a different region, I will get different comments for that region, and so on. So when I filter the data here, the region, depending on the region selected, those comments will appear. So you basically have full control on what level of the detail you will be filtering the dynamic comments on each visual.
Great, excellent, Mark. I'm already looking at the questions here, because we'll need to wrap it up. Before we go to the questions, maybe just a quick comment. We have prepared also, I mean, the time series is very important, right? And many times when you're tracking market shares, right? This is the very important KPI, of course, here. The rolling periods are actually the best practice here. So maybe, Mark, you can just give us a quick glimpse of this. Yeah, exactly, right? So, and rolling periods in the sense of having a rolling 13-month, right? That's one example. Or if you have if you get your data, your panels every 2 months, right? Then you would have 7 rolling periods, right? So 6 plus 1. Why plus 1? Why 13 months, right? Because then you will always start your time series with the same month previous year. So like in Mark's example here, December last year to December this year. That's exactly, 1 year. And then the difference highlight at the end of the chart will actually show you exactly the year-over-year comparison, right? So how do you set something like this up, Mark? Maybe you can show this.
So yeah, this is a really good case where you can basically set up 2 different calendars. So first of all, you get the normal calendar from your date field, right? That you bring in from the data, and then you can basically generate the calendar automatically out of that. Now, it's just a simple line of DAX, which then allows you to actually use a months rolling field, which I'm showing on the screen here. So basically, you can just write this simple DAX line and use it in the date slicer, and you can then customize your rolling periods. So depending on the choice here, I will get a rolling period up to that point in the months, right? So you can basically
dynamically selecting the number of periods in the rolling period. And of course, if you then change if you would change the month, if you would have the month filter and change the month, it would take the time series from the month that I want, right? Yeah, so
exactly.
For example, from January.
So in this case, February, if I switch to February, I'm looking to February, March, and I can basically walk through the entire proceedings of this year, do the same from any kind of data point. And this is really a neat example of how to actually track those.
This is very important for like reports, Power BI reports based on Nielsen data or other data providers, right? Because they will, you'll be getting those the data in regular time intervals, and this is just the most I would say this is just the best practice how to view the rolling periods. Once you load in the new period and switch the month, everything will work. The whole rolling period will just get shifted for 1 month. No reports will break, and you will always have all the the comparisons that you need most, which is year-over-year comparisons and trends and all that. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Mark, let's try to wrap it up. Maybe if you give me back the stage, I'll just show the just share the resources to learn more. Right. Here. Okay. So, so this was a brief run through, just to give you the some inspiration. Make sure you load your brand data into Power BI. Identify your industry relevant data provider. There are a couple of them for every industry. Select meaningful KPIs. Load everything in repeatable periods. Into Power BI incrementally, and then use data visualization, especially small multiples, tables with visual columns and commentary to get the most out of your data, so that people will start using this for the most meaningful decisions in your company, right? And act upon it. So that's how you make it actionable, and that's how you create value from your dashboards. The technical, how do you set this up, right? We have previous webinars for commentary. Okay, so you want to look at this webinar for details about commentary and commenting, including write back commentary. So I would recommend those two previous webinars. Then the advanced time intelligence. Okay, how to set up the rolling periods on all that. So we have dealt with this topic before with step-by-step example DEX formulas and how to set the calendars up and all that. So that's this webinar. And also maybe how to scrape data from the web, because sometimes you will get some interesting data from the web and do proper benchmarking analysis on top of that. There's also a step-by-step tutorial basically here in this webinar. So we will share the recording, the examples, and also the links to learn more after our session. Thanks for listening. I hope we gave you some ideas how to improve your reports based on Nielsen data and other brand and product category management data from your data providers. Hopefully this was helpful. And the visuals themselves you can import from Microsoft App Source. So the Zebra BI tables, Zebra BI charts, and Zebra BI cards are all on App Source, and you can just start using them by importing directly from your Power BI either service or desktop. All right, more webinars, basically all the webinars and with all the recordings are available at zebrabi.com/webinars. Okay, do we have time to take maybe 1 or 2 more questions to close it up?
I think we might have 5 minutes, 10.
All right.
Okay, so let me just bring it up. So that one of the questions was really interesting, actually. So I'll just pop it up on the screen. So is it possible to integrate AI, so
AI.
that the comments can be automatically generated?
Yes, of course. Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. I mean, well, first of all, you can you can do that. The thing is, the best commentary, the most impactful and valuable commentary, comments, the content of that is unfortunately not in your data, and AI won't be able to write it because simply it is not in any kind of data, right? It might be, it might be that you ran some explanation here with this data would be, I don't know, we ran some marketing campaigns and whatnot. So, so the most meaningful information to explain it is in the heads of people. So the first thing I would recommend, organize the process so that those comments, when you load the new period of your data in, make sure that you have a process that analysts will actually review that. The category managers, country managers, brand managers, product managers, whoever is dealing with that they will bring, because they know the market insights, they know what kind of marketing campaigns they were running and what was going on. So that's one thing, right? So doesn't answer the AI question, sorry, but I'm getting there. Number two, where you could use AI, I'll give you one idea. AI could provide a summary, not from your data, but from from some other news, right? Maybe you have certain newsletters or certain other like presentations and so on. So you can just throw those presentations into ChatGPT, or if you have other data AI models, to generate like summaries for certain categories based on the data and or internet sources that you provided. Okay, so that's definitely much more useful. And number three, try Zebra AI. That's the best advice I can give you. So go to zebraai.com and try there with your data, because you will get the dashboards, not just the commentary, but also the dashboards completely automatically generated.
Yep. For everyone, I've just pasted the link in the chat, so yeah, you can just go there and sign up. Okay, so maybe the next question would be, is the comparison growth line decline done on a particular period selected? How do we actually show the growth lines or declines and so on?
Oh, that's a great question. Down on a particular period selected. Okay, so I think Anshuman is talking about the difference highlights, but also you saw the comparisons in trends as well. So let me just show this. So I have basically two things, right? So one thing is this little element here. So this one here, it's called the difference highlight. Okay, so basically, of course, you can select what it shows, right? So let me show you. So you have different options, and it makes sense. Different options make sense in different situations. So in this example, when you just have one, just have your market shares, and you don't have basically any comparison. So right now, I only have the market share.
Just excuse me to interrupt. We only have 1 more minute, so yeah, I think.
All right. The quick answer would be just go to the visual, and you'll find options here under the difference highlight. All right. This is you'll see different options here. All right. Guess that was the last question for today. We'll send the recording. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube for more webinars that are coming your way soon. Thanks for attending. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.